One of the most polarizing gaming figures is Sonic the Hedgehog. When Sonic first burst onto the scene in the early 90s, a lot of people took notice. A lot of people thought that he was going to transcend Mario as pretty much the face of video gaming. And although the NES was the first console I ever got as a hand-me-down, the first brand new console I ever got was a Sega Genesis with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 in Christmas of 1993. And I instantly fell in love with that game. I loved the colors, the visuals, the music, the speed, everything about it was just so amazing and so unlike we had seen of anything else at the time. And Sonic during that time frame was just huge. We had Sonic 1, Sonic 2, Sonic 3, Sonic and Knuckles, and Sonic CD, all of which were amazing, awesome games. And Sonic was really hitting his stride. There was TV shows, there was movies, there was plush lines. Everyone was talking about Sonic. And then the Sega Saturn happened, and the only Sonic game we got on there that was sort of a traditional Sonic game was Sonic 3D Blast, but that was really more of a sidestep for the series. It wasn't what gamers wanted from Sonic. A lot of characters were transitioning into 3D sort of games, so that's what people kind of wanted at that time. They had to wait until the Dreamcast came along to get Sonic Adventure, and while that was a great game, it still felt like it was sort of missing something. And then after Sonic Adventure, unfortunately, Sonic started to lose his way. There was stinkers like Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog, which was a game that nobody ever really asked for. And unfortunately, since those games, Sonic has just been sort of in a rut. There's been some good glimpses of hope and glimmering, shimmering shiningness with games like Sonic Generations and Sonic Colors, but they always felt like they were missing something. There was always something feeling like it's still a little bit off. So when Sonic Mania was announced as one of the 2 Sonic games coming out in 2017, I really took an interest to it. I actually did a reaction to the trailer when it was announced, because between that and Sonic Forces, Sonic Mania looked like the game I've always wanted. It looked like that traditional Sonic game with new stuff added to it, with new stuff to make gamers excited. Sonic Forces looks more like the advancement of the series in Sega's mind, but Sonic Mania always looked like the advancement of the Sonic series in my mind, in the gamer's mind. So I was lucky enough to get a code for Sonic Mania from Sega. I have been playing it, and now I have to give my final verdict. Is Sonic Mania the Sonic game we have always wanted? Is it a return to form for the Blue Hedgehog? Let's find out. The first thing worth noting with Sonic Mania is just the development team that was behind it. It's essentially a fan project that Sega put their stamp of approval on and released. It was spearheaded by Christian Whitehead, who is known in the Sonic fan community as one of the OGs, one of the best people in the game. He was actually the reason that Sonic the Hedgehog ended up coming to cell phones a couple years ago in the terms of Sonic CD, because he ported that himself. And along with him is Pagano West Studios and Headcanon, who worked on this game, that are also big in the Sonic fan community and do a lot of Sonic fan projects. So it was clear that Sega wanted this game to be made, but maybe they just didn't want to trouble themselves with the game, because, you know, they haven't really been able to hit the mark with Sonic fans, and by bringing in people that are well respected in the fan community, it could really help. And in this case, it really did help. So when you start up Sonic Mania, you're greeted to a short animated cutscene intro that looks really well done. I really enjoyed it. And then you're thrust into the game. And one thing I really like is the fact that it's not a story-heavy game. I don't like Sonic and Mario games that are story-heavy, because that's never what they've really been about. I don't care about these weird interspecies relationships and talking Sonic with, you know, hours of dialogue. It's always just sort of bogs down the game and makes it just feel superficially long. And Sonic Mania takes place after Sonic and Knuckles, thus making it really the Sonic 4 that we've always wanted. And there's a story there, you know, it involves Dr. Robotnik, or Eggman as he's referred to nowadays, as, you know, doing his bad guy thing, capturing animals. Sonic and Tails and Knuckles have to save these animals, etc., etc. It's very paper-thin story. It's not the focus of the game. The focus of the game is, of course, the graphics, the sound, and the gameplay. And when you turn on Sonic Mania and you get into that first level, when you start playing Green Hill Zone, It honestly feels pretty familiar. You can tell that the animation is much better on Sonic. Sonic moves very fluid, and everything just looks really great and really crisp. The levels look really well done. And at first, it could sort of seem like, you know, this is just, you know, the standard Sonic game that we've always been playing. But as you progress through Green Hill Zone, about halfway through Act 1, you start to realize things are different because they add in different things. And that's where you really see the gameplay come to fruition. That's where you start to see the theme of the game, the way that this game is going to play out. I honestly feel that this game plays a lot like Sonic CD, which is a very underrated Sonic game in terms of level design. You know, Sonic 1 through Sonic and Knuckles were always just sort of very linear, I felt. And that wasn't necessarily a bad thing, that's just how they were made. You moved from left to right to progress to the end of the level. You didn't do much, you know, side paths and backtracking, but in Sonic CD, there was a lot of that. And it really shows that, you know, Christian Whitehead was a super huge fan of Sonic CD because that's how these levels sort of play out. It's not necessarily just left to right. You're moving up and down as well throughout levels. And there's so many different branching paths of levels and inside the levels, and it's so great because it's always something different to see, always something unique, you know, a little maybe nod to previous Sonic games and whatnot, and it's very well done. The levels feel very big and very sort of open for a traditional Sonic game, and I like that aspect about it. It sort of keeps things fresh. It makes you want to replay the levels again to see what you might have missed, to see what different paths go to different areas. Sure, they all lead to the same destination, but it's not about the destination, it's how you get to the destination that's really fun. And Sonic does bring some new tricks with him as well. Aside from different power-ups that we haven't seen in previous Sonic games, there's something called the Drop Dash, which is new to this game. And basically, when you are Sonic, after completing a jump, you can automatically go into a dash. And it really sort of impacts the game. It really sort of makes the game feel more fluid. And that's one of the things I love about this game, is the sheer speed of it, because there's a perfect balance. That's one thing. Everyone always says that Sonic was about speed. And I don't think that's necessarily fair, because while speed was an important factor, the platforming was also a very important factor. And having to slow down in certain sections to get to trickier areas was a part of Sonic, and it just seems like everyone's always forgotten about that. So in Sonic Mania, there's definitely a high sense of speed. There's definitely segments of a level where you'll just blaze through it, and then there's segments where you have to take your time and you have to, you know, pace yourself through the level. And that's one of the best things about the game, is how they manage to just get both of those aspects down pat. And they manage to figure out how much speed is good enough, how much is too much, when you need to have platforming. Like, the levels just progress beautifully, absolutely beautifully. And once you start to get into the newer levels that are, you know, originally just for this game, like Studiopolis, which is the first you'll see, you really start to see the game take on its form, and you really start to see just how good another Sonic game on the Genesis or Sega CD could have been, because it really pushes that image and it really pushes that feeling of those original Sonic games. I just love all the little nods to previous Sonic games as well. Even Sonic games you wouldn't expect. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but there's a boss battle early on that's just, it's so clever. It's so clever. You'll get it within the first, you know, hour of playing the game, but it's just so clever. And it's like, wow, I can't believe they did a nod to that Sonic game. And I just absolutely loved it. The game just oozes charm. And that was another thing that original Sonic games did. They just oozed charm. And as you're progressing through the game, you see different sort of landscapes. You see these futuristic landscapes, underwater landscapes. You see snowy landscapes, ones where you're up in the air and stuff. It's just, it's a magical game. And I don't say that very often, because I consider myself a harder critic of games like this, especially games that are based on my nostalgia and based on, you know, things I grew up with. I want to make sure that they do these games right. And Sonic Mania just nails it across the board. The boss battles are very creative. Aside from that one that I was just talking about, they're very big. They're very, you know, larger than life at times. There's some where you're running away from, you know, a helicopter that's shooting missiles at you, and you have to hit the missiles back to them. There's one with Metal Sonic that was really fun as well. Just very imaginative and very creative in how the pacing of the game works and how managing the game by adding boss battles, you know, in mid-levels sometimes and stuff. It just keeps everything fresh. The game, you think you figured out everything in the game, and then the game throws you another little curveball. And they're all nice curveballs. They're all curveballs that speak on the experience. I had such a blast playing this game. The graphics were beautiful. Some of the scrolling in the background was just gorgeous. The music is very inspired by Sonic the Hedgehog 3, I feel. It definitely has that sort of Michael Jackson sort of feel to it, that early 90s Michael Jackson, even a little bit of Bobby Brown in there too. It's that, you know, feel-good party music that those old school Sonic games had that just, you know, made you nod your head and, you know, you would hum the tune when you were at school and stuff. Just everything is crafted so well. They also put in a time attack mode with leaderboards so you can try to get through the level as fast as you want. And there is the 2-player split screen from that debuted in Sonic 2 in the game as well. But all of that stuff wasn't really important to me. The important stuff was the mainline game. And for $20, honestly, this is a no-brainer. If you're a fan of retro video games, period, if you ever enjoyed playing a Sonic even for like 5 minutes on the Sega Genesis or on the Sega CD, you honestly owe it to yourself to buy this game. This game is just, it's, honestly, I feel like as Sega fans, and I obviously am a Sega fan, we need to make a message that this is what we want from Sega. This is the kind of stuff we want from Sega. Maybe we don't want Sonic Forces. Maybe we don't want to see these games, you know, almost bastardized and just taken into a different direction. We like the classic stuff. We like the way it used to be. You just improve upon it. You make it a little better for modern gaming, but you still keep the classic stuff. And I feel like that's what they did with this game. And I hope it sells really well, because honestly, it's one of the most enjoyable games that I've played this year. I am looking forward to going back and playing through the levels again, finding all the Chaos Emeralds, because I definitely did not find all the Chaos Emeralds. But another thing, the Chaos Emerald stage is really well done too. I didn't manage to capture any footage of them because some of them are pretty tricky to find, but they're really well done. They're sort of in this 3D sort of racing thing, and you collect rings and orbs, and the more rings and orbs you collect, the faster, or the more orbs you collect, the faster Sonic goes, and you have to capture this UFO and get the Chaos Emerald. But there's just so much to see. There's so much to do. There's so many nods to classic Sonic games that you owe it to yourself. If you've ever played a Sonic game and loved it, if you grew up in the 16-bit era and played these Sonic games, Sonic Mania is a no-brainer. One of my favorite games of 2017, and a game that I'm really going to enjoy for a long time, I feel. So I hope you guys enjoyed this Sonic Mania review. I know I kind of went all over the place with it, but it was just a very unique experience for me. It definitely took me back to a time, you know, when I was 8 or 9 or 10 years old and just didn't care about anything and just wanted to sit there and play my Sega Genesis. And that's how I felt playing this game. You know, hours would just go by and I would just lose track of time. I would just lose track of everything inside of the Sonic world, and it was a really pure experience. So hope you guys enjoyed this review. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and let me know in the comments section down below if you plan on picking up Sonic Mania, or if you watch it after the game has come out, what you think about Sonic Mania. And thank you guys for watching this video. I'll catch you guys next time. Later.